Hello, and welcome to Shedding the Bitch Radio, where you can discuss, debate, and get advice on how to discover and shed the bitches of fear, insecurity, self-doubt, and negative mindsets so you can realize your dreams and life purpose and create and accelerate the riches you want in life. Join us here live every Tuesday at noon Eastern and dialogue with us at 818-572-2910. You can also chat with us at Blog Talk Radio /SheddingTheBitch or share your stories on our website at sheddingthebitch.com. Whatever the bitch is that's holding you back from living your life to the fullest, it's not worth giving up the riches in life that you deserve. So call in now and let Bernadette Bowes know what's holding you back. 818-572-2910. Good day, everyone. Welcome to Shed the Bitch Radio. I am so excited about today's conversation because you know what? We can all use a little relief from feeling stuck and frustrated. So we'll introduce our guest in just a minute, but before we do, I just want to remind you of some great episodes that we just had recently. And I want you to go out to sheddingthebitch.com and download these episodes and all the other episodes that we have, as well as you can go out to Apple Podcasts or wherever you stream your podcasts. But last week we talked to Mark Hernandez, and he spoke to us about the body code. Have you ever heard about it? The body code. Fascinating conversation. Definitely something that helps kind of cure any ail that you might be feeling. So listen out for that. And then the week before we talked to Joanna Wright, and she talked to us about, she's with Bottom Line Wealth, and she talked to us about how we can get into the real estate market with no money. No money. And ladies, if you're looking for some financial security and financial investment and for financial freedom, check that episode out. It was a great conversation. We talked to Michael Arterbury about Shake the Dirt. Now, I've been expressing how this conversation with Michael was just so inspiring and so exhilarating. So definitely you want to check out that episode and check out all of our episodes. As I mentioned, you can check them out at sheddingthebitch.com. You can check them out on Apple Podcasts, even blogtalkradio.com /sheddingthebitchradio. Now, we also, like we are today, we are in studio. So we are video recording it, and you can find all of our episodes of the show on our YouTube channel, which is Bernadette Bowes Shed the BTV. All right, so check that out too. Subscribe and follow us on YouTube and on Blog Talk Radio, as well as Apple Podcasts, and you'll get all the updates and all the other future episodes of the program. All right, we need to thank our sponsors. We have two great sponsors that really support the Shedding the Bitch community. Deborah Parker of Parker House Virtual Services. She's been providing virtual service support and social media to small to corporate size clients, including Ball of Fire Consulting. And you can reach her at deborahparker.va@gmail.com. Then there is North Georgia Tax Solutions and Debbie Snelling. Her team is fabulous, and she provides full financial services support and tax services to small and corporate size clients. They're awesome. So if you have any business or personal needs anywhere in the country, not just North Georgia, then go to ngtaxsolutions.com and learn all about them and tell Debbie I said hi. All right. Now, today, yay! And Tammy's there with a big smile on her face. Today we are going to talk about, are you stuck and frustrated? She's going to give you secrets to navigating obstacles with ease. Oh, gosh, that sounds so good. And our guest is Tammy Guns. How are you, Tammy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show. How are you doing?
Great, fabulous. I mentioned to Tammy that I've been talking all day, as you can all imagine, who know me. So you'll be seeing me chugging a lot of water throughout this program. But so Tammy, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Denver, Colorado, the beautiful Denver, Colorado.
Oh, I love Denver, Colorado. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today, okay? So change is the new normal for successful organizations that are constantly adjusting to market conditions in the global economy. It is critical that all people within a business are able to effectively navigate this change because people are the backbone and the driving force ultimately determining the success or failure of new initiatives. This presentation or our discussion is going to be a blueprint of essential tools of how to navigate change and to take advantage of take your organization to the next level instead of allowing change to block your business as well as your personal growth. If you are ready to be renewed, inspired, and energized while learning tips to last a lifetime, stop by, listen in, download, take us with you, and watch us, our smiley faces, because what you're going to hear and what we're going to discuss is describing a fundamental misunderstanding that keeps people from changing and improvement. Ability to understand how obstacles can be easily overcome. That sounds so good. And define key next steps to take in your life to reduce stress and increase wellness. So let me give you a bio about our guest, Tammy. Tammy Guns has an extensive corporate industry experience in auditing, business valuations, business development, and healthcare operations for the past 25 years. Tammy has served on 2 different board of directors and has published 2 award-winning books. Her education entails earning 4 college degrees. Holy moly. She graduated from the University of Michigan and the University of Wisconsin. She's engaging and an informative keynote speaker, including a TED Talk in Dallas, as well as the honorary chair at a global conference in Rome, Italy, where she got that beautiful tapestry behind her, by the way, where she also presented on how decision-making is the single biggest factor negatively impacting our health and finances. Tammy is on a mission to stamp out health and wealth illiteracy so that all people can live a life of their dreams. I love that. I love that. I love that. All right. So there is so much to unpack there. You are one powerful woman, Miss Tammy. That's all I can say. But give us some more, before we get into all the business stuff, give us some more, of who Tammy is. And we know that you live, in Denver, Colorado, but give us a little Tammy.
Sure. So I currently have my own company, and I've had my own company for the last 3 years, and I have done some healthcare work as well as I do individual coaching, and then I help people try to live, their best life with regard to both their health and then their finances. And, we're talking about change, and change came about in my life, sometimes abruptly, like this COVID-19 has for the world. And then sometimes I was more thoughtful in making the change happen. And so a lot of what we're going to talk about today has really been from my own life experience, certainly my own mistakes, which I'd like to be able to help people so that they can navigate their own lives in a much better way.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. We have to, if we've been on this earth for any amount of time, we have to share what we've learned and overcome and even our successes and even our achievements. So I love that. That is fabulous. But how did you get into this specific, line of work? Yes, you have an amazing corporate background, but why is this topic so close to your heart?
Well, so I got married quite young, right out of college. And, as you indicated, I have 4 college degrees. So I was all set for the business world. And my life took a turn because of being married. And then I ended up following my now ex's career around the country. And so in doing so, we had young children. And so then I ended up really focusing far more on our family and our children instead of my career earlier in life. And, unfortunately, just the way things happen, our marriage ended. And I found myself when I was in my, early 40s, all of a sudden needing to re-enter the workforce. I did work for some time, but I'm not saying that my career was my focus. My family was my focus.
Right.
And so I ended up, I got a great career, thank goodness, because of my background. I was quite fortunate. And, then I was raising 3 kids 100% by myself. Their father was not part of their day-to-day life. So that was a lot of work, believe me, I love my children and they're doing great now, but it was very hard. It was a really difficult path to take while you're trying to work all day long and then help the kids with their homework and get them to all of their sports activities. So there wasn't a lot of time, for me, I would say personally. And what I ended up doing as well is I made choices that I thought were safe, right? And so I stayed within corporate America because I thought, well, that's a safe paycheck and that is a safe way to go. And you have health insurance and all of that. Even though my heartstrings were saying, go out on your own, start your own company. But I kept saying, I can't because, there's so much uncertainty when you start your own business and you don't necessarily know when the next, invoice is going to get paid or where your next business is. And so I chose, like I said, the safe route. But interestingly enough, 3 years ago when I started my own company, it was because of an abrupt situation where there was a huge reduction in workforce. I worked for a very large healthcare system that had 25,000 employees in 17 different hospitals. And they ended up letting go a lot of people that were at the director and above level. And so here I thought, well, that's interesting. I chose what I thought was a safe path, even though I wanted to start my own business. And so this is one of the instances in my life where change was abruptly cast upon me. Now it's been great, believe me. Oh my goodness. I wish I would have done this years and years earlier, right?
Yeah.
But what it's interesting is that I thought what was safe is really not safe. And now I would never, it would be pretty extreme for me to go back to corporate America. I really enjoy having my own company.
Well, you're preaching to the choir. Absolutely. We could have a whole conversation in regards to that. I have a feeling. So that's very cool. But this whole aspect of change, what do you find to be even what I'll call a simple like a simple change that people just get caught up and just get, kind of in their head and just create a lot of chaos for themselves when they don't necessarily need to?
Well, number one, there's even a biblical reference to this in saying that without a vision, the people perish. So number one, if you don't even know where you're going, where your end goal is, you can't change, because how do you know where you want to end up, right? And of course, I know you've probably heard this example many times. Let's say here I am in Denver, Colorado, and I wanted to go to the East Coast. I'd actually have to get up and get into my car. And certainly if I plugged in a destination, it would help me get there no matter how many wrong turns I take. So the key would be to take action. But really, the first thing is, where do you even want to go? So you need to set that vision, that end point. It doesn't matter how many wrong turns I would take, I'd eventually get there. But you actually have to first find out where you want to go. And for a lot of people, they don't take the time out of their day to do that. And what I would say is that people live very, very busy lives. So we get up and we probably get up on the same side of the bed every day. And you probably have the exact same morning routine every single day. You probably eat the same thing for breakfast and you drive the same way to work. And so on and rinse and repeat. So many of us live these lives where it's almost like we're on a, this pattern of not taking the time to sit down and go, what do I really want? And so when you sit down and you take the time and say, what do I want my relationships to look like romantically? What do I want my relationships to look like friend-wise, or perhaps your family? What do I want my career to look like? And you put these in very big, bold visions. And so that's something that most people just don't do. They get up, they rinse, repeat, do the same thing. And then all of a sudden they look at, the calendar and 10 years have passed or 20 years have passed. And so they're almost living what I would say their life unconsciously, not really consciously looking at what it is that makes them happy.
Now, do you think that, do you find that it is just because of lack of time, or is there another fear or something else getting in their way about them sitting down and really owning or even considering what their vision might be?
Well, I think it's both. I think it's lack of time, putting, the time to actually sit down and do this exercise. Like I carve out every single day of my lifetime for myself. I really do, because it's important But I also think it's fear. I think people think, how can I dare to dream? And you also look at your own current circumstances. Like you could look at your own bank account right now, or you could look at your own investments, or look at, you look around your surroundings and you say, okay, this is what the life has given me. And you can't imagine the unknown. You can't imagine something that is beyond what has already been created. But what we really need to keep in mind is that what we have right now is all based on the past. Yep. Everything you have in your life is based on the past. It's not based on the future. And so for a lot of people, they just can't imagine, how in the world could this happen? How in the world could something so amazing happen? Because this is what my life looks like. So you have to get out of your own way.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Now, so you had, you even mentioned it, how organizations, when it comes to, there's a whole thing, organization change. But at the same time, and we'll get to a conversation because I want to have a conversation with you about this current environment as a result of the C word, which I don't like to mention often, but we'll say it's the C and P word. But even just say things were back to normal. What is the biggest hiccup or, obstacle that organizations deal with when it comes to change?
Well, number one is that knowledge does not equate to change in behavior, right? So when I was in corporate America, it was interesting. I was in the healthcare sector, like I had indicated. And of course, change is happening incredibly quickly in the healthcare sector. But in reality, change is happening everywhere. So you're either growing and expanding or you're shrinking and dying, right? For those of your listeners who ever remember Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster was the number one company to go get your, Friday night, Saturday night entertainment. And, they were milking the cow. They were doing great. They had brick and mortar stores. And most people don't realize that they had the first ability to purchase Netflix, and they said no. They're like, no, we're happy. We're really happy with how our business is. And so they didn't actually see, the disruption that could happen. And we know there's a lot of disruption in other areas. However, what I would say, though, is that when companies try to just, they'll do these email blasts, by the way, here's the new process for accounts payable, or here's the new process for whatever. And then they get upset when people don't actually make those changes. It's because knowledge in and of itself does not equate to change in behavior, right? How many of us know how to lose weight, be at our ideal, eat less, exercise more, okay? How many of us can raise our hands and say we're always at our ideal weight or our ideal health? We're not. So, even Maya Angelou has this saying where she says, when you know better, you do better. And I used to love that, but now I would change that saying. And I would say, it's not just knowing, it's actually when you are able to do better is when you do better, but not just knowing. Knowing is, that's for the mind. Knowledge is for the mind.
Right. I love that. And I like that twist on it, because knowing is not going to get you moving. Once you feel able to move, you're going to move. So, I love that. Woo.
I actually think people do the best that they can. I really think that's my underlying philosophy.
Right.
And I know sometimes people's best could be maybe on the vibrational frequency of pond scum. I mean, some people's best really is not very good, right? So, but I really believe people every single day do the best that they possibly can, and some of our best is amazing and some of our best is barely making it.
Right. And do you find that, giving the credit to people that they are doing their best, but at the same time, I think what I hear you saying too is they're just not going that extra step to really consider this best could be even bester.
Could be better, correct. Because I do think that after people get knocked around by life for a little bit, sometimes people just go, like I mentioned, this is the best it's ever going to be, or I'm limited because I don't have the educational background, or I don't have this skill set or that skill set. So we really are our own worst enemies. Yeah. We truly are. So I really believe that we stop ourselves. And, one of the things that I talk about when I do my presentations around the world, I talk about how, we have our own worst enemy with us all of the time, which is the voice inside our head. And in fact, what I say is that if the voice inside of my head were instead a person sitting on the couch next to me, and talking to me the way I talk to me, I would tell her to promptly get up, walk out the door, and never speak to me ever again. And yet, you know, this voice inside of our head takes up valuable real estate.
Yeah. I love that too. I love that analogy. I do. I love that analogy. But, and you're nicer to just get up and walk out. I'd be like, go F yourself. You know?
Well, you know,
I would. And yet we don't do that to ourselves. I love that because we don't do that to ourselves.
Well, you know why? Because here's the thing is that the voice inside of our head was really designed to keep us safe, right? Yes. Don't touch that stove. It's hot. Don't cross the street, right? So when we look at the underlying intention of our voice, it's to keep us safe.
Yeah.
But when you're safe, you never can go beyond where you are, right? So as I said, you're either growing and expanding or shrinking and dying. And if you're one place and you want to go somewhere else, you have to go through this gap. You have to navigate this gap, which is full of stress, which is full of uncertainty, which is full of unknown. So our voice is the loudest when we're trying to be something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, Marianne Williamson made a statement that actually a lot of times gets credited to Nelson Mandela. But she said, we are afraid of our biggest, best, brightest self. We are not afraid of our smallest self.
Oh, right. And, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
When you first look at that, you go, well, wait a minute. How could that be true? Why would I not be, you know, why would I be afraid of being amazing and, you know, and being rich and famous and everything working in my life? Well, when you peel back what she's saying, it's because in order to get from here to there, we're afraid because we have to move. We have to navigate the unknown. So that's why we fear our greatest self, because we have to be something more than we are today.
Right. Well, and would you find too, though, that it's also not only, you know, because they have to move, but where that might be, where that might take them is scary to them. Yes. You know, it could change their whole world and they're just very comfortable where they are. Would you agree with that?
Yes. There's even another saying that people would rather have certain misery than the uncertainty of something new, right? Than the misery of uncertainty. Yeah. So people would rather have this certain misery, like, oh, I don't like my job, but I know it. I don't like this relationship, but I know it, right? It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. Right. So yes, and the thing is like our brains are actually wired that way. So we're wired for certainty because what happens, right? If my day is known and I get up like we talked about earlier and I do all the same things and there's nothing new in my life, that requires not a lot of effort on my part, right? But when you have to learn something new, again, when you're going from where you are to where you want to be, it's all unknown. That requires a lot of effort and a lot of energy. And so that's something that uncertainty is scary for us. You know, it's the same thing where, you know, when you're, you know, like the old days when people were out hunting or whatever, it's like, oh, okay, what was that? I don't know what that is. That sound is unfamiliar. Oh, maybe that's the tiger. He's going to pounce, right? So you always had to be on high alert when something was new because it goes back to your own safety and survival. So we don't like that. We would much rather, okay, yeah, I know.
I like it right here.
Exactly. So we're actually wired that way. So we're overcoming some of our initial wiring.
Yeah. Well, and we wonder why things get passed down from, you know, century to century, generation to generation. And some of it is just that's how we're wired. That's how we're built. That's how things, you know, kind of just continue and continue. Well, okay. So I need to understand. So so someone's sitting there and they're like, yes, I know I need to change. I'm even willing to. I'm opening my heart to needing to. But do they need certain skills, or what are those certain skills that they need to navigate that change effectively? And I want to also have you emphasize, and is there a difference between how they need to navigate in their personal lives and in the business world?
Great question. So again, you started that out brilliantly because you said they had to make a decision, right? You first have to make a decision, right? And then we indicated you have to have a vision. Where is it that I'm going? And then the next thing is don't be your own, don't stop yourself from moving forward because there's always, again, our self-talk will talk us out of anything. Yep. But what you do is you start taking baby steps because here's the thing is, right, they always say a marathon, you're not thinking about that last mile when you are first beginning. You have to be able to just start out. So you take those baby steps and you start going. And one of the things is if you really have a desire to get somewhere, you don't let, what's going on stop you, such as, Thomas Edison. He was interviewed when he came up. We all know he came up with the incandescent light bulb, right? I mean, Chicago burned from a candle, right? So, but when Thomas Edison was interviewed, it took him over 10,000 tries to come up with that incandescent light bulb. And when he was interviewed, he said, I did not fail 10,000 times. I simply found 10,000 ways that didn't work. So it's the way that we will talk to ourselves.
Mindset, yep.
Right. And so you say, okay, I learned something. Instead of going, this didn't work again, you say, I learned something, right? Because we're either learning, right, or we're winning. So it's not winning, losing. It's we're either winning or we're learning, you know, and so that helps us along the way. I don't think there's a difference between your own personal life and your business life at all, because I think that these skills are the same. Because if you're going to be successful in your own personal life, you're going to be successful in business as well. And so you use those same underlying skills, in the workplace. I mean, I know I use them as well in my company and my work as I do in my own personal life. But the thing is you have to desire something enough as well. And so stress is going to come about. I mean, it really does. And stress comes about when we do not feel we have the adequate resources to effectively deal with the situation. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what do I mean by that? So let's say you're standing on the end of a pier on an island and the island's blowing up. You got to get off it. There's no choice to go back. You have to swim across this lake. Well, if you're someone who has no clue how to swim, you're going to be incredibly stressed out. Whereas if you're Michael Phelps, bring it on, right? This is not a stressful situation, But what happens is when you get adequate resources, you reduce your stress. So let's say all of a sudden you see a life preserver. Oh, okay, good, right? That's going to reduce your stress. Or a boat comes along. Hey, get in. Oh, that's going to reduce your stress. So what you want to do is you want to find the resources that can help reduce your stress. It just comes about when we don't think we have the adequate resources, and you can find them. You don't have to be the be all and the end all. In fact, one of the examples I have used is that, like if you're the president of the United States, you don't have to know everything about you. That's why you have a cabinet. You have a cabinet of people who are experts. So you can always tap into others and their expertise, to be able to help you along the path.
Nice. I love that. And yes, and we all need a posse. We all need a tribe, circle of influence, mastermind, whatever you want to call it. We all need people. We all need that support system. So obviously, the last several months has just, created all kinds of change for everyone. So how has it, and again, the C word or the P, whichever you prefer, but how has it impacted people from your vantage point?
Great question. So I actually think that the C word you're talking about, right, that was abrupt change that came about and people were not ready. And so the two areas, in fact, I'm writing a third book right now on this, on the fact that, crisis and lessons that we learned from COVID-19 regarding our health and our wealth. Number one, we know that the people that were most negatively impacted by COVID were those that had underlying health conditions. In fact, usually 3 of them. And so this was all about I talked about this with my TEDx talk too, is that a lot of chronic disease is lifestyle choices. There's something called epigenetics, where really more of our environment, we can impact our genes. It's not that you're necessarily going to develop certain things. You can perhaps change your life by changing your decision making. And I want to really emphasize that this is not about blame, because people could be, if they misinterpret this, they won't hear my message. This is not about you're sick, it's your fault. Absolutely not. This is about mitigating risk, because if you wear a seatbelt, and you end up getting in a car accident, you could still get injured. However, wearing that seatbelt will mitigate your risk of injury. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with your health, right? You can eat right, exercise, do everything right, take your vitamins, meditate, and still end up with something. However, those people who do those behaviors, usually from an actuarial standpoint or risk standpoint, their risk is lowered. So this is not about placing blame. This is about you yourself trying to mitigate your risk. Then the second thing is the finances. And one of the things is that, you know, a lot of people thought, hey, I'm healthy, I can work, even if I lose my job, no big deal, I'll find another one. Well, COVID-19 showed us that people's jobs not only were abruptly stopped, but then they couldn't go out and find another one because those jobs were just, you know, on hold at the moment.
Yep.
So people were 2 paychecks away from disaster. They did not have an emergency fund. They didn't have things, you know, available. In fact, and then of course, a lot of them are sitting there, please government, bail me out, help me, help me. Well, giving your power away outside of yourself, right? Same thing with the health. If you're not doing the steps to take care of yourself, you're giving your power away to, say, the healthcare system. And believe me, I could talk to you for days on how messed up our healthcare system is because I worked in it for years. So it's a very obtuse system that's not really there and designed to really help people stay healthy. It's more of a disease system. And again, that's not the point of this conversation.
Right.
But you take your own power back by doing necessary steps to do the best that you can to be healthy. So again, this is about mitigating risk, not about placing blame.
Right. Which I love, because it's all, even, you know, if people look at, okay, mitigating risk, ooh, it's really proactively, you know, addressing things. So then you're more, you know, secure, more safe.
Correct.
More protected.
Absolutely. And people didn't have, you know, so you mentioned I have 4 college degrees. I have an undergraduate degree in accounting, a master's degree in accounting. So not only have I worked in healthcare, but I was really working a lot on the financial component of that. And so I help people, you know, with their finances so that they have an emergency fund. So
Right.
You're not sitting here going, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay my mortgage? Because you have those funds put away. There's things that people can do. But again, this is not people's fault. We were never taught these skills in school.
Yeah.
These are skills that most people were not taught. And so, you know, again, how can you know what you don't know? So,
Right.
you know,
Right.
so, but again, I think that COVID-19 really brought into the light, very much so, the fact that we are not personally ready health-wise, and we are not personally ready wealth-wise.
Right. Right. Yeah, it has been a sad awakening, and yet for some it's been just a really good, productive awakening, because then it's like, okay, whether you're 25 or 65, you can still start putting things in place and getting help from like a Tammy in order to, you know, kind of make sure that tomorrow is better than today is. So what kind of tips or advice would you have for someone to just kind of embrace change and to, as you say, to mitigate that risk, and what steps can they take for themselves?
Sure. So what I would want to read is two quotes that I think are near and dear to my heart. Number one, Socrates said that the secret of change is to focus all of your energy on not fighting the old, but instead building the new. A lot of people will do exactly that. They will fight the old. No, this can't be. They spend so much energy doing that versus building their new. And you need to build the new and stop wasting your energy. It's kind of like investing in a bankrupt company. You know, the company's bankrupt. Stop it. Stop spending resources. And then the second quote, which I really love, and this one is by Charles Darwin, and he says, "It is not the strongest species, nor the most intelligent, that will survive. It is the one that is most responsive to change." So if we want to be our best selves, we have to be able to navigate change throughout our lives. Yeah. It is never, ever too late to change. Right, some of, you know, like some of my favorite people, like even a lot of people don't know that, you know, the gentleman who started Kentucky Fried Chicken didn't do it till he was collecting Social Security.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that can be done. I believe he was 62, Colonel Sanders.
Yeah. He was in his 60s. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then one of my favorite publishing houses is Hay House. And Louise Hay didn't start that until she was older as well. And so, you know, she unfortunately is no longer here. She died, I believe, in her 90s. Right. But, you know, she didn't end up, you know, doing so successfully, right, from a financial perspective until the very last half of her, or the third part of her life.
Right.
So to me, it is never, ever, ever over. In fact, I always say that when I'm 95, I want to be setting goals for what am I going to do when I'm 96.
Absolutely. Amen, sister. I always say until they put that nail in that coffin and they drop me 6 feet, I will be learning and growing and doing something, with a goal in mind. I love that, Tammy. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, this has been great. I want to make sure now, everyone, listen up, take note. I want you to go to TammyLynnGuns.com and learn all about Tammy. All right. And obviously you can tell she's someone you want to engage. You want to get involved with, you want to learn from. All right. So go to TammyLynnGuns.com. Her Facebook page is Tammy.Guns.355. But I almost sense that if you were to look up Tammy Guns on Facebook, you would find her very easily. That big smile. Twitter is @GunsTammy, and LinkedIn, of course, is Tammy Lynn Guns. Now, do people reach out to you from your website, email?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. In fact, I get my business email is my name. It's TammyLynnGuns@gmail.com, TammyLynnGuns@gmail.com. And then my business number is 303-301-4231. Absolutely. I want to make myself accessible to people because this gives me great passion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, absolutely. And everybody, she talked about it. You need people. You need that circle. And one of those people in the circle could be Tammy. And therefore, and you don't need to do this alone. You don't need to go through change of any kind, big or small, something you're excited about or something that stresses you out. You don't need to go it alone. So be sure to take advantage of expertise and just spirit of someone like Tammy. So TammyLynnGuns.com. All right. Well, this has been fabulous, Tammy. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. I had a nice time talking with you.
Yes, thank you very much. And everyone, again, the episodes are all up on sheddingthebitch.com. You can go to blogtalkradio.com. You can also download them at Apple Podcasts or any place you get your streaming. And then also check out our lovely faces as we broadcast on YouTube at Bernadette Bowe's Shed the Bee TV. All right. And until next time, next Tuesday at noon Eastern time, everyone have a rich, prosperous week. And I'll look forward to talking with you then. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Shedding the Bitch Radio with Bernadette Bowe. Join Bernadette every Tuesday at noon Eastern as she helps you shift your bitches to riches. And the dialogue is always going on at sheddingthebitch.com. See you next week.